Once there was a little old ant, thought he'd move a rubber tree plant. Everyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant. But he had high hopes. He had high hopes. He had high apple pie. We're getting people now. In the sky hopes. So anytime you're getting low, instead of letting go, just remember that ant. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another rubber tree. Oops, there goes another. Oh, here are people. Rubber tree plant. Okay. Hi, everyone. So nice. All of a sudden, it just opens up. Hi, Ashley from California. Lynn from Haven, Florida. I remember from last time. Bahoon, Jackie. No, I think that's Jackie's last name. There's Darla from Iowa. And remember Romper Room? I don't think there are very many of you who remember Romper Room. And I've forgotten the woman's name, and she would look through the little circle and say, I see Debbie and Susie, and there's Marky and Joey. So much fun, though, to see everyone. I actually see you guys. Indiana, that's Jean Ann. Okay, share this video now. Yes, thank you, folks, for saying that. That's Natalie, who I affectionately call Nathalie. She has an H in her Natalie name. Here we go, Holly from Connecticut. I remember Romper Room. Well, that's because your name is Shelly. You see, you're my age then, Shelly. You know, nobody's named Shelly anymore. It's a great name. No one's named that anymore. Miss Barbara. Francine, you're absolutely right. It was Miss Doobie, don't be. Thank you, Pamela. See, it's all my age group. Romper Room. Yay, I remember Romper Room, Marie. Too much fun. Donna from North Carolina. Okay, shall we get started? Let's get going. It's already 3 minutes after the hour. So, in my Materia Medica, on page 28, see all my writing? I always write in books. It's the only way to keep track of things. Tonight, we're going to talk about Borax Veneta. Borax is good enough. There are no secondary boraxes that I'm aware of that have been made homeopathically. And it's a very interesting medicine. I most often use it for canker sores, but it's used for others as well. So when I use it for canker sores, and I've written about it on my blog, but more often than not, I use it in a 200 C. Sometimes twice a day, sometimes every other day for chronic canker sores. Now, what are chronic canker sores? Those folks who have canker sores generally don't have chronic. And so they can't imagine, what is a chronic canker sore? It means the canker sore comes out, and just as it's ready to go away, another one pops up, and then another one pops up, and then one of those start to diminish, and then another two, and it's chronic. Can you imagine? I've had clients who have that. It's really awful for them. They can't eat all kinds of foods, and that's usually what it's related to. But if it is a food intolerance, we're going to go deeper than that, of course. We're going to use remedies that are specific for food intolerances. And next week, that's one of the remedies we're going to be talking about, is one specific for certain, especially certain food intolerances. But a lot of times it's not really the food as much as it is the makeup of the food, such as it's sweets, anytime they eat candy. But even if it's not candy, they can't have fruit, or they can only have a certain amount of fruit. They can't have cherries if they're too sweet, but they can have blueberries that are not so sweet. So it's a great medicine for canker sores, but I also use it in a 30th potency, and that's for acutes. Now, what's an acute? That means what most people get every once in a while. They get a canker sore, maybe two, but it's not consistent day after day after day. Now, I don't want you to be too literal about this, because if someone has, and we use it then in a 30th potency as an SOS, so we use it maybe, if it's really severe, very painful, then we might use it every 12 hours, something like that. But I don't want you to be too too much a stickler for protocol here, even though protocols matter. If the person gets a canker sore and then another one and then another one, then there's a break for a week. Just because there's a break doesn't mean it's not chronic, okay? Because it's chronic means it's pretty much consistent. If you step back and look at it from a distance, such as when you look at a painting and you get up too close, it's orange and yellow splotches. But if you get that distance of space, we can see that it's a sunflower. Same idea, only look at it with a distance of time. So over time, if you could say that this person is experiencing canker sores, far too many, really frequently, just way over the top, too many of them, even if they're only one every week or so, that's still chronic. That's when we would use Borax 200 twice a day. So, and if it weren't like that, and let's say that person's sister gets canker sores, but she only gets them if she eats too many sweets, now we look at that as an acute. So we're balancing the chronic with the acute. Alrighty, what else can we use borax for? We can use it for nauseating menstrual cramps. It's pain in the stomach, not in the uterus, in the stomach. So it's a gastrointestinal response to severe menstrual cramps. To be honest, I don't use it that often. I find that there are others that work better, faster, easier. Doesn't mean this is not a good one, and I have used it, but not very often. But when I do use it, I would use it during the time of the nauseating, painful menstrual cramps. And then I would use it probably in a 30. And I say probably because I don't have an exact protocol for that. So now I'm weighing it 30, 200, 30, 200. When I'm not so sure, I'm more often going to go with a 30. And especially if it's only happening occasionally, I might use it in the 30. And a 200 if it's really severe. If this woman is really suffering and she knows it's going to happen pretty much every month, then I might, yes, indeed, hit it hard in the beginning when it first comes on at the beginning of the menses and go with a 200, Borax 200. I'm going to save the little unusual aspect of borax till the end. Borax also has an unusual use when it's used in its gross form. It kills ants and a lot of other bugs. Now, years ago, you could buy borax at the hardware store. I don't see that anymore. What I see now is borax with, and then it's got, generally I've seen it with a pesticide, an insecticide. Well, what's the point of using borax if you're just going to use an insecticide anyway? So instead, I like Boratine because it has borax in it and it works. In fact, just today, we have a couple sides of our house that have needed to be stripped off. It's got wood exterior, and when they pulled it off, we knew there were ants there because every spring we see loads of ants in the kitchen. So right on the outside of that wall, when they pulled it off, lo and behold, there was an entire colony. It looked like National Geographic, for crying out loud. They were so healthy and robust looking, and there were so many of them. So when they took off the rotted wood and they cleaned it all out, this was all done today, I handed them the box of Boratine and they poured it in there. Now, I have also used it mixed with powdered sugar so that it's sure to be brought back to the nest, but I have learned that they bring everything back to the nest, regardless of whether or not it's delicious or sweet. So I think we feel pretty confident about that. But what we've done is now we've gotten to, and that's what I love about working with homeopathy, is that we've gotten to the essence. So this is not homeopathic medicine we're talking about. We're just talking about gross borax in Boratine. We're cutting it all out, getting it all cleaned out, and then just as a precaution, we're adding the borax. But we're getting to the bottom of it. Now, had we instead just called an exterminator, I might say parenthetically, that we would have just sprayed it, killed some of the ants, but the rotted wood would have remained. The etiology, the cause of the problem would have stayed put, killed some of them, and now they come back with more vigor than ever because they've just been wiped out partially, not enough to completely wipe them out. Not unlike, I might add, when we use antibiotics for an infection, like an ear infection or strep throat or conjunctivitis or something like that. So I like that analogy. I've actually written more about that. I think the title of the article was, I have a column in the journal Wise Traditions, and I think it was called something like Crunchy Ants. I love crunchy ants or something like that. So you might want to read up a little bit more about that. Now there's one more unusual use for borax. So now we're getting back to the homeopathic use of borax, not the gross use of it, the gross form. But it is when a child, or anyone for that matter, has an angst upon going downward. A baby, when you put the baby down into the crib, they freak out. Now, I had a son like that, and it never crossed my mind to use borax. Even though I knew the remedy somewhat, I assumed, perhaps incorrectly, that it was just that he didn't want to be taken out of my arms. But it could have been angst from downward motion. So that was, and that same son, we lived in the Boston Hills outside of Buffalo, New York. And every time we went up the hill, he was fine in the car. But when we were going down the hill, he did not like it. He was very uncomfortable. It's also useful for the elderly who have a fear of falling, fear of going down roads. Great medicine for that. So we're actually approaching it from a psychological point of view. That's another thing that we love about homeopathy. It's not just physiological. It can be very useful for psychological and emotional conditions as well. So now we've got it. Canker sores, acute and chronic. 30th when it's acute, 200 when it's chronic. Nauseating stomach pains with menstrual cramps. Great for women. Then we've got borax, boratine, for killing ants, not homeopathic. This is the gross form that can kill insects. By the way, it also works for cockroaches too. I've used it in Florida. And let me also say, the apartment that my husband and I lived in for a couple of years was my parents' apartment for, I'm going to say 24 years. My parents never, ever had that apartment sprayed with pesticides. Everyone around them sprayed. They did not. Now, one of the neighbors said, well, it's because we're spraying that you don't have cockroaches. But I don't believe that to be so. It's because my parents put borax down under the sink. And I did it too. I put little bowls. I actually have little signs in the bowls that say welcome cockroaches. And I put it under the kitchen sink, especially when we're gone, when we leave. Put it in the bathroom, under the sink, and in areas where I know they're going to travel, all along the edges of the kitchen floor, etc. The reason we know that it works is because when my parents did not use it, that's when they did get cockroaches. So cockroaches and palmetto bugs. Now the palmetto bugs are a little more difficult, I find, but we just have not had, they usually don't infest quite the same way as those German cockroaches. So that's the next use of it. And then the last use is for when someone has anxiety or angst from downward motion, being pushed down a buggy and freaking out. Now, we're not talking about this happens occasionally. We're talking about someone who's really plagued with this. My son was plagued with this because we lived in the hills and we were always driving up and down the hills. And had I thought to use it, and as I said, I didn't, I hadn't thought to do so, I would have used it in a 200C. And probably because it was not a hugely plaguing condition, it was just enough to make his life a little uncomfortable at night when I put him down in bed and also going down those hills. I probably would have used Borax 200 maybe, I don't know, every 3 days or so. For how long, might someone ask? As long as it takes to correct it. So that could generally be, I find these psychological corrections can happen.
I don't know what happened. There you go.
Are we up again? Not on my end.
Intermittent.
Intermittent. Oh, darn. Keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to assume you can hear me. You can see me. Can you tell me, folks, can you hear me? Because it tells me that my internet is trying to reconnect and we're having trouble.
The internet went down.
It went down. I'm going to keep talking just in case it's still working out. Let's see. Canker sores versus cold sores. We're not talking about herpes here. We're talking about canker sores. Canker sores and cold sores are different. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, folks. Or you know what? Let me read towards the end if you can. If I can. Yes, I can hear. I can hear. I can hear. You're on. You're on. Okay, I'm going to keep going then. So the question was canker sores versus cold sores. Cold sores are different. Canker sores are ulcers. And cold sores are herpetic eruptions. So they're not the same. If you're interested in knowing about cold sores, guess where you should go? Go to my blog. I've got it right there. I talk about it, give you exactly what to use. You can buy Borax in the washing detergent aisle. Yes, absolutely. Used as a wash booster. And that's exactly what I buy. And you can buy it at Walmart. You can buy laundry detergent, just Borax. Yes, you can, just Borax. I bought it that way too. Could you use them for winged ants and termites? We have used them for termites. I can't tell you whether or not it was successful because termites only come out at certain times and we weren't willing to open up the outside of the building quite yet. So that's for our place in Florida. We did worry a little bit about termites, but we use Borax. We did it there too. Okay, here we go. The article I was speaking about was being posted by Natalie. You're very close to my old hometown. Well, that's nice to know. Carly Rose. Okay, here we go. Oh, hi, Carly. Nice to see you. Okay. For canker sores, how many times a day for canker sores? Chronic canker sores, I would say twice daily. Do I worry about Buster getting into the Borax? No. Yeah, yes, we've also used diatomaceous earth. That's right, I forgot. We use diatomaceous earth and Borax, sorry, for those termites. And we always buy food grade, diatomaceous earth, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, diatomaceous earth. No, I don't worry about Buster getting into the Borax because I pour it along the perimeter of the room where only once we've left. We're about to leave and we exit and Buster's not going to be nosing around there. Other times, however, and then when we get back, I vacuum it up and it's gone and mop, etc. And then, but during the time that we're living there, it's under the sink, under the bathroom sink, kitchen sink, etc. Okay, okay. Thank you for sharing. We're just breaking up. Yes, but they can hear me. That's really good. I'm on. It's great. I can hear you. Yes, you are back. Breaking up and down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, the picture is bad. Okay. Hope you don't get me with the picture, with my mouth stuck open or something. Hate that. I refreshed my screen. Good idea. See and hear you now. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions here. One of your long blog posts has Merck Sol for canker sores. Yes, you can use that also for canker sores. Don't use both. Use one or the other. And how do you know which is best to use? Instead of just saying, oh, let's just throw caution to the wind. No, you get out your Materia Medica and you read up on Merck Sol. And then you read up on Borax. And if there's something about Merck Sol that you say, this person does have too much saliva. This person does have halitosis. Forget Borax. You're going to go right towards Merck Sol because those are characteristics of the remedy Merck Sol. All right. I put diatomaceous earth in my dog's food daily. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, actually. We did that for quite a while with Buster. And then we didn't have any more trouble with, it's great for all kinds of parasites. But we were specifically worried about fleas at one point. Diatomaceous earth. Thank you for writing that all out for me. Okay. Yep. Elaine says, you can go to Dogs Naturally magazines, and you can just look it up online. I have it delivered. I have, a 50-pound bag delivered. And what I like about diatomaceous earth is you can also buy the little applicator, and it's a little puffer that you pour it in, and then it just puffs out. And we spritz it all over Buster too when he had fleas. He no longer gets fleas. Someday I'll talk a little bit more about that because we've been very successful with keeping Buster's fleas away. So far, now it's been, how long has it been? 1.5 years. And in Florida, they're ubiquitous. I mean, you can't walk down the street without a flea jumping on you. Not you, but a dog. All righty. So I want to urge you to get my Materia Medica. Look, folks, do I want you to buy things from me? Yes. Why do I want you to buy things from me? Because I want you to own these things so you make the commitment, so you learn this. If you can't afford, I get it, no problem. Stay in the free zone. Stay in the blog, in the podcasts, in these Facebook Lives. Learn from other avenues about homeopathy. But if you are ready to join, to get more involved, I can't urge you enough to join us, one of our study groups. If you go on my blog, you'll see one, and it's very inexpensive, super inexpensive. We did that purposely because I want it to be an easy jump into learning more about homeopathy. And even for those of you who have been using homeopathy for decades, I teach it differently, and I have found that through the years when I've studied homeopathy, I could read a beginner's book and then another beginner's book and another beginner's book, even though I had my degree in homeopathy, and I still learned something. If you don't glean at least 2 or 3 pearls from those kinds of avenues, I'd be surprised. So I do this every Monday night. And yes, I need flea relief in South Texas. I know, I'm still working on it. I'm actually coming up with something that we're working with Buster. We're testing it out, and if we're certain that it works, then we're on to something, and we may just get it out there. All right, you talk about your possible pain class. Yeah, it's a pain, isn't it? I talk about these classes. I'm so excited about doing more classes. We're actually thinking about a pain class, a dental class, and a professional class. So, yep, I have it. It's a invaluable reference. Yes, thank you, Martha, for saying that. And love my study group. Yes, Cindy. You know what's so great about this is because when we're involved in homeopathy, we're kind of loners. We don't fit into the rest of the world. And so to have like minds around us in a study group, whether it's in our living room or church basement or our school classroom that you put together, or it's a group on Zoom that you've organized through Facebook, and it's all virtual, there's nothing like it. And you will learn much, much faster if you hear other people's problems and how they've solved them. Or you might know how to solve theirs, and they might know how to solve yours. So get together with folks and learn as much as you can. And with that, I say, what's a professional class? A professional class is for professionals. So other homeopaths, naturopaths, medical doctors, clinical ecologists, functional MDs. We have a lot of them in my classes, but they have different kinds of situations that they work with. So I am thinking about putting something together specifically for chiropractors as well, etc. So how about, or a male class? Yeah, I know. We have had male classes. You know, years ago, I used to teach locally. And on Monday night, you probably heard me say this, so please bear with me. Monday night, I would teach on the west side of Buffalo. Tuesday night, I would teach in Amherst, New York, outside of Buffalo. Wednesday, I teach in Black Rock in the city of Buffalo. Thursday, I would teach on the east side, etc. I mean, really, I worked every single night, and I taught these classes, and they were all about 8 weeks long, and I would go from one group, and then another group was in the second class, and then the third. On Wednesday, I'd have someone who's been studying for 6 weeks, and I just kept them rolling. I just kept classes going all the time. And one time, a group of women said, why don't you teach our husbands? Now, the classes that I taught in all these places were generally an average of between 10 and 35 people in a class. Well, I had a class for men, and there were 3. And listen, I could teach about men's issues, and men could join, but women could be involved as well. The wives could be there, or the mothers, or whatever. But men generally don't have as much of an interest in this subject as women do. Those who are interested are usually unusual guys, and they're usually engineers. I've had a few engineers in classes. Certainly chiropractors. I've had a couple naturopaths, a couple medical doctors, but they are far outnumbered by the moms and grandmothers. So I love your Materia Medica. It helps me remember the remedies because it is in your voice. I know that's what I'm trying to do, because it's not esoteric. I try to keep this simple and practical. A professional class, yes, more of the doctors, etc., need to have this to offer. You bet. Yeah, a class for seniors. You're right about that, Debbie. I was actually going to call it. Just hold your hat on this one. Boomeropathy, for the boomers. We talked about that too, and I've got lots of information on that. So you're right. There are just so many classes. I just can't get them out fast enough. To be honest, I need people to help me build these classes. If anyone has that kind of expertise, let us know. We're actually looking for someone now who has virtual office experience, lots of it. We need someone to help answer phones. They would not be actually working with me, but they'd be working with my staff. And so if anyone has any interest, certainly shoot us. But you have to have lots of experience. We are a very fast-paced office, and it's important that it be someone who has lots of experience with working with the general public and understands computer, the wherewithal around computers, and is up to snuff with that. So if anyone's interested and you got all that, you can certainly send us a resume and we will get you looked at. So I think we've got it, folks. It's a beautiful night here in the north. Clear, sunny, beautiful day. I hope it's beautiful where you folks are. And remember to cure as many people as you can and turn them onto homeopathy. God bless all of you. Mwah! Love you all. Have a great night. Bye, folks. See you next Monday.